Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order the December 9th, 2021 meeting of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District. And we have enough business to do today to finish up the year of 2021. So let's get after it. And Mr. McGlasson, our director, would you please call the roll of board members?
Certainly. Munson.
Yes, here.
Thomas. Githens.
Here.
Hamilton.
Here.
Piedmont Smith. Jones. Swafford.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll begin with Executive Committee meeting minutes for October 25th, 2021, and these are included in your packet for your information, and so you will know what your Executive Committee has been up to. The next minutes are for our board approval. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you offer a motion?
Yes, I move approval of the minutes of the Board of Directors meeting of November 4th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion on this? Please raise your hand so I can see you. And I see none. In that case, we'll move to a roll call vote right away.
Hamilton.
I'll abstain. I wasn't at the meeting. Thanks.
Githens.
Yes.
Swafford.
I wasn't there either. I'll have to abstain.
Munson.
Yes.
Piedmont Smith.
Yes.
I will clarify the vote was 3 affirmatives and 2 abstentions. Under the bylaws, it just requires a majority of board members present and acting, so the motion passes.
Oh, very good, and thank you. That's what I was thinking all along, but I am glad to have your review of the bylaws. Let's go right away to Ms. Kathy Martin for the controller's report.
God, I was muted. The cash flow summary is on page 11 of your packet. And as of November 30th, the ending balance in the accounts were, the operating account was $1,630,859.39. The savings account was $1,349.79. Closure bond debt was $29,855.18. The capital account was $45,414.60. And the landfill post closure was $755,483.95. The individual cash flow statements for those follow on pages 12 through 18. And we have the cash balance graph, kind of got stuck in the middle of those, but that's on page 15. Questions on the cash flow statements before we look at the claims?
Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you. Sorry, just unmuting. Yeah, I noted that the 2021 numbers are 600,000 or 700,000 bump up. We've had a regular climb. Is there a reason it seems substantially higher margin, I guess I would put it this year on that chart? Thank you. That's a good problem. It's a good thing to have. I just want to note it. Do we know why that is?
Off the top of my head, yes. No. I've noticed, certainly looking at the graph, the jump does stand out compared to previous year comparisons, but I have not looked specifically into that. But we could certainly do so, particularly as we reconcile the year end and report on that in January.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it starting in April. This April was when I started, so this will be my first year in, so I'll take a look at that and see if I can come up with some some comparison things as I do the year-end reconciliations.
Okay, thank you. Just looking at the graph, it looks like in 2021, since June, there has been increased revenue coming in compared to 2020, more so than the first half of the year. So that just struck me as you were talking about this.
Yeah, it's grown. I guess whether is it income changes, is it expense changes, you know, whatever, just helpful to try to get a sense of the dynamics. Thanks.
Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yeah, I had a few questions on the revenues on the operating fund. So I noticed that metal recycling, we took in $25,000 more than was budgeted.
Can you refer to the page you're?
Page 12.
Thank you.
So there's a line for metal recycling where we had budget of $40,000 that was expected revenue there, and we got over 65,000. And I'm wondering if is that a new trend? Is that a fluke? I don't know if Mr. McGlasson can elucidate that.
I've not specifically looked at that, but just, you know, just general information, and, you know, I would want to look and compare our volumes, you know, from previous years, which that budget would have been based on. But I do know, as a result of COVID, scrap prices are up. So, you know, we are getting, you know, more than we estimated for the metal that we're collecting.
So that's a good thing. Other questions or comments? Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yeah, I had a few more, if that's all right, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
So looking at that same page, I see the green business revenues are down. You know, it's about half, and with only 1 month to go. So I'm wondering, do a lot of the Green Business Network participants pay in December, or is this a trend that we're seeing fewer businesses participate in?
Our participation numbers are down slightly, not a great deal, probably 5 or less from the previous year. But yes, we do get a lot of December revenue for GBN as companies pay their subscription dues for the coming year.
Okay, that's great. And then a little further down, there's a revenue category called refund/miscellaneous. And I had deja vu, like I've probably asked this before, but what is that? Because there was no budget for it, and we have almost $16,000 that has come in that line.
Ms. Martin, do you want to address that, or I'll give it my best shot?
I'm not sure I know what all of it is. And that's where we, you know, anything that we've gotten, basically that's what it says, just miscellaneous income, refunds that we've received. And I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head that we've gotten that we've put in that line, because I think a lot of that there must have been something bigger earlier in the year, because I haven't put that much in that line, I think. But let me see what the numbers are. Although we did have in September, we had $2,700.
It looks like in July was the biggest.
July.
And I'm not sure I don't remember what that was. I'd have to go back and look at that. I don't remember what we had that we put in that line.
So,
but I can look it up and see. I don't have the capabilities of looking at that here.
Right. So one thing we can do is just report back to the board at our next meeting as to what's included in refund and miscellaneous.
I'll do that.
Just so we know. And it might be a whole diverse group of things, but
It is actually,
we
I
should
think,
know.
but I don't know. I don't remember what the larger numbers were in that, that we've gotten in those things. So I'll have to look it up and let you know.
Okay. So
Yeah,
are there other questions?
well, I have a comment.
Mhm.
Sure.
Okay. Just following up on Mayor Hamilton's observation of the growing amount of cash in the operating account. And of course, we put some of that in savings, and we're talking about investing some of it. But as we start a new year, we might think strategically how to invest this money to further our mission. I know the executive committee has talked about maybe a downtown recycling drop-off site or something like that. But it just seems like we have a substantial sum of money, and we should invest that to further reduce waste.
So thank you. I hope we can proceed to discuss this and try and get this going. I have a comment, and that is that the host fee payments year to date are $241,000. The budget for 2011 is $250,000. And the smallest bill that we've gotten is, well, November's bill was $24,800, which would put us over. And I think all the smallest is in the 17,000 range, which also could not be accommodated within our budget. So I'll ask Mr. McGlasson to please comment on this.
Certainly. I mean, the host fee is, I mean, the revenue we get based on the volume of Monroe County generated waste, with some exceptions, that goes through the Hoosier Disposal Transfer Station. And the fee is set at $2.75 a ton, and that's the rate that it has been for a number of years. We've not requested any adjustments to that. And so the revenue for budgeting purposes is estimated based on previous year's volumes that have been subject to the host fee going through the transfer station.
Mm-hmm.
And it would appear that this year exceeded what we estimated for volume based on where our revenues sit, and that will be, moving forward, that volume would be factored into future estimates as we do future budgets. And it's sometimes it's up, sometimes we estimate high, sometimes we estimate low.
Right. But the general fund is certainly sufficient to cover any overage.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, very good. Other questions from board members? Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make sure I understood your line of questioning. You were looking at the revenues table, right?
I was looking
in the operating fund.
I was looking at page 12.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not, we're not at risk of like going over budget. We're at risk of going over budget in the revenues, so that's a good thing.
I guess the good thing is it's more money. The bad thing is there's more disposal happening, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to reduce. But yeah, I mean, it brings in more money. So yeah.
And there are, things that, one thing that comes to mind, the construction of the new hospital. Probably, there was a lot of construction debris that resulted from that went through that facility that, we maybe did not estimate correctly when we looked at doing that budget. In fact, when we put that budget together, the plans for the new hospital may not even have been known yet. So.
Right. Okay. Well, I would like to note that Commissioners Lee Jones and Julie Thomas have joined the meeting.
So, I'm sorry, can I just clarify based on what Mayor Hamilton said, is the host fee payments just based on household waste, on waste, or also recycling?
No, just waste.
Just
But
waste, okay.
But it's more than household waste. I mean, that's
All waste.
any waste that goes to the Hoosier Disposal Transfer Station that generates in Monroe County is subject to that host fee, with the exception of the city of Bloomington and the Solid Waste District Orange Bag and Bulky Item Programs.
Okay, thank you.
So are we ready for payroll and claims? I believe so. Ms. Martin?
On page 19 is a listing of the pre-approved claims in the amount of $190,767.48. The backup documentation for all of those follows on pages 20 to 32. Yesterday, I sent an email with the current weekly claims in the amount of $32,356.96. That brings the total of the claims for approval to $223,124.44.
Very good. Are there any questions about the claims? Mr. Hamilton?
I'm like a broken record on this, but Ms. Martin, I appreciate it, just for the record, for you to go on the record and state in your judgment and after your review, these are all appropriate claims and should be paid, and recommending them to the board. Maybe that's written somewhere, but I think it's good in the minutes for that to be stated too.
Okay, let's incorporate that into the motion when we get there. On page 23, you will see Ms. Martin's and Mr. McGlasson's signatures underneath the line. We have examined the claims summarized above and approved. So we do have their approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Piedmont Smith.
Yes, I was just wondering whether the there's a line item, at least one, maybe more, for Chase card services for the district's credit card. Is that tied to the bank account? Will that be changing when we move to the new bank, or is that separate?
It is, we will be changing. We are changing that to German American, and I just checked on that today, and it is, should be delivered to us any day. So hopefully within the next month, we'll be transferring that.
Okay, great, thank you.
I guess, but it's to specifically answer your question, the Chase credit card is not tied directly to the bank accounts at Chase. So, changing those accounts does not impact
The credit card?
The credit card. It's still, the credit card is still valid and able to be used until we notify the credit card side of Chase that we want to cancel it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Even if we wanted to keep it open, we could, even though we're changing banks, but we just felt like it was best to just keep it all together. So we are switching it though. So.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? I believe that we're ready for a motion.
Yes, I move approval of payroll and claims as certified to us by our controller and executive director in the meeting packet, plus those that were distributed yesterday.
Second.
Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Githens, I couldn't hear you. You're muted.
I was muted. Yeah, sorry.
Right. Any discussion on this motion? We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Swafford,
Yes.
Githens.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we have Resolution 2021-15. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you introduce this?
Yes, I move that resolution 2021-15 to establish the 2022 district holiday schedule be adopted.
May we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So everyone, you've read about this in your packet. It's on page 33. And does anybody have questions or comments? We talked about this rather extensively at our last meeting, trying to be as equitable as possible with the many varied schedules we have. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different schedules. So Mr. McGlasson did a yeoman's job working this out, and maybe this will stand us in good stead for another year or two. I don't know. I see no other questions or comments. So we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Swafford,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes, and thanks for working this out.
Githens,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes,
Jones,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next on our agenda is the ratification of encumbrance. And Mr. McGlasson will give a presentation about this item.
I'll do my best, and then I'm probably going to turn it over to Mr. Baker.
Oh, that's why Mr. Baker is here today.
This is related to a 2020 budget item, excuse me, where the board approved an appropriation for the purchase of a new forklift at our South Walnut facility. We got the quotes and made a decision on a purchase with ProLift, and then COVID hit, and they had issues getting the parts they needed to build the forklift for us. That caused some delays, and then as you see in the memo, then once they got through all of that, then there were some, don't know specifics, but there were some emission standard issues with the EPA, and I will let the board know that in no way will the district accept a forklift that does not meet EPA emission standards once they get that resolved. But at any rate, with changing banks and having a check that was over a year old, we started to worry about making sure that we would be able to pay for this piece of equipment when it arrived. So we asked SBOA, State Board of Accounts, what the proper procedure would be to issue that payment under our new bank, given the conditions that we find ourselves in, circumstances. And then you can see on page 39 of the packet, the email that I had sent to the State Board of Accounts and their response. And so, as is indicated in the memo, based on that response, staff has voided the original check, credited that back on the general ledger, which I apologize, probably should have pointed out when we were doing the cash flows. That does reflect on the expense side of the cash flow in this meeting packet as a negative, with that money going back in. And then they said, the recommendation was to credit that back to the ledger and then encumber that money into 2022 and have the board ratify that encumbrance at their December meeting. So that in essence is what we are asking here, for the board to approve, ratify us encumbering that money into 2022. You can see beginning on page 43 of the packet, the original payable voucher that staff did back in 2020 when the purchase agreement was executed, the indication on there that checks been voided and we need to encumber that money into 2022. and the documentation from ProLift regarding the piece of equipment to be purchased. So it's Mr. Baker, if I've left anything out or you need to add anything, please feel free.
You did great. Thumbs up.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Thank you, Mr. McGlasson. Board members, do you have any questions or comments on this business item? I'm seeing none, but we need a motion to encumber this, do we not?
Mr. Baker, would it be a motion to encumber or a motion to approve / ratify the encumbrance proposed by staff?
The ratification would work if an action has already been taken by someone authorized to take the action. The ratification would be a retroactive approval of that action. So if that hasn't been taken yet, then it seems to me the motion should be to do it.
Very
So it
good.
kind of depends on whether it's happened or not, the encumbrance. If it hasn't, the motion should be to do it. If it has already happened, the motion should be to ratify that action.
The encumbrance has not occurred yet. That is something that we would do at year-end reconciliation.
Yep. It should be a motion to do it then.
Okay, Miss Piedmont Smith, are you ready to tackle this motion for us? In the amount of 35,000.
I'm sorry, the specific amount of the encumbrance is $34,386.
Yes, I move approval of an encumbrance of $34,386 for the purchase of a new forklift of 2022 funds.
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? I suppose we should ask for public comment on this. Seeing none, we're ready for a roll call vote, please.
Jones,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Swafford.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we will take up two items regarding the Citizens Advisory Committee. And the first is a request for appointment. And Mr. McGlasson will inform us about this.
Yeah, you have again, on my memo on page 50 and then beginning on page 51, letter of interest from Adelaide, and I will apologize, Petroview, who's interested in joining the CAC. I believe that our current CAC chair, Mr. Winia, has had some interaction or has worked with her on some other things before, and I believe is the one that recommended she consider joining the CAC. And so I did hear from her this afternoon. She had intended to be at the meeting today, but had to work until 4 o'clock and was not sure how quickly she could get home and get logged in. And I do not see her in the waiting room at this time, but in talking with Mr. Winia, it does seem that she would be a good member for the CAC, bring some good perspectives to the committee, and certainly agree with her being appointed to the committee.
Thank you. May we have a motion for her regarding her appointment, please?
Yes, I move that the board appoint Adelaide Petroview to the CAC.
Second.
Thank you. So questions or comments, board members, do you have any? Ms. Piedmont Smith and then Ms. Githens.
Well, I just wanted to thank Mr. Winia for recruiting this individual who sounds like she's very passionate about the mission of our organization.
Ms. Githens?
I was also going to use the word passion. This seems to be something that she lives, and so she would be a very welcome addition to the board, to the CSC.
Yes. Other questions or comments from the board? Is there any public comment? Mr. Winnie's recommendation has already been relayed to us, but please go ahead, Mr. Winnie.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to say that I share in that excitement, and I very much hope that her interest will be accepted by the board, and I would look forward to her participation on the CAC as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I will offer the comment that we need to expand our CAC membership so that the important work that they can do will get done. And any board members or any members of the public that are interested, please pass on the names of individuals who may want to be involved in the CAC, and we will follow up. So we're ready for a roll call vote then. Mr. McGlasson.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Swafford,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have the annual appointments to the CAC for 2022. And these are all reappointments. Mr. McGlasson, would you present this after Ms. Piedmont Smith offers a motion?
If I could, I guess if I could present before
Okay.
we offer a motion, I would. There's a couple of things have happened since the board the meeting packet was produced.
Oh, okay.
But again, the resolution to establish the CAC does call for all members' terms to end on December 31st of every year. So they have to annually be reappointed, which is what we're doing here. You have in the memo, there are two proposed memberships, option A and option B. And now I'm losing my train of thought as to why there's two options in there. But
One is with Adelaide and one is without.
okay.
Yes, that's why we did it that way.
Oh yes, because I'm skipping between the current and the, so option A obviously has one with Adelaide and one without. Also, since the packet was produced and sent out, Morning Wilder was unfortunately out of town and had limited access to her email when I sent emails out asking for confirmation of members' intent to continue to serve in 2022. So when the packet was put together, she had not responded. She did get a hold of me last weekend when she returned and saw her email and does wish to continue to serve. So I would ask that since Ms. Petroview has been appointed, we would be looking at proposed membership option B, that when the motion is made, we verbally add Ms. Morning Wilder to that roster to be reappointed to the CAC as that is her wish.
Thank you.
So
That's important. That's important clarification. Now you have a list, Ms. Piedmont Smith.
yes, I move that the board approve the reappointment of the CAC members as listed in option B plus Morning Wilder.
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Oh, wait a second. Miss Thomas?
Yeah, I just want to thank the folks who have been serving and look forward to our new member and appreciate their hard work all year long. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Piedmont Smith, I think you had a question?
Yes, well, I had a comment.
Okay.
So since Lauren Cott did not respond and say she wanted to continue to serve, we are down to just one representative from the waste management industry, which is Ryan Conway. So we might, if anybody knows anybody who works in the waste services industry, we might, put our efforts into getting somebody else from that sector to serve.
And I would just, and whether it's a waste industry representative, you notice that all the others are listed as a Monroe County resident, and that is in the statute that that mandates that the CAC be established. It does state CAC members must live within the district whose committee they're serving on. So it does have to be, even if it's a waste industry representative, it does have to be a resident of Monroe County.
Okay. Very good point. I will comment that with Ms. Wilder added to this, we still have 5 seats that are vacant. So we're hoping to find more interested citizens to work on this, and waste industry reps too. I believe we're ready for a roll call vote.
Githens?
Yes.
Swafford?
Yes.
Munson?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Piedmont Smith?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Continuing on with the CAC theme, we have proposed bylaws for the committee. Who would like to present on this? Mr. McGlasson or Mr. Winia?
I think Mr. Winia would be the appropriate person to address this.
Thank you.
I can do that. Evening to the board and staff members. Thank you for the opportunity. I will begin by saying the context of these bylaws is that to the extent of my knowledge, the CAC does not have a known set of adopted bylaws. So this will be a significant step in helping us define our governance. And that's why it has been expressed by the CAC that there's an interest to ensure that the board also has the opportunity to review its contents, as well as contents of amendments going forward, to make sure that it's in alignment with all of the district's objectives and values. So this will be, I guess, an opportunity for board members to provide feedback, and in particular, with respect to the last article of the bylaws, which is the definition of the board's rights with respect to CAC amendments to the bylaws. So all feedback is welcome, and I will conclude there. Thank you.
Okay. I think board members may wish to review this right now. And I believe this is on page 64 of the packet at the bottom of the page. Is that correct?
I believe it's page 58 on the packet.
68. I'm looking
58, sorry, 50 or 58.
58.
Yes.
Yes.
Not in. That's where the bylaws start, is on page 58.
Correct. I'm sorry, you were referencing the last article that I referenced then.
Right, and that's what you were calling our attention to, because the other articles refer to requirements set out in statute.
So yes, indeed, that is on page 64 of the packet. Article 6 amendments.
Yeah,
And it would be
64.
Section 2, board review. And I guess also conditions, Section 1. I see Ms. Piedmont Smith has a hand up.
Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't have any comments on Article 6, but I had some on the earlier articles. So if you want to wait, I can wait.
Well,
Article 6 seems fine to me.
okay. So I think we can just take these article by article so we know where we are. We can follow along in the packet. Getting there. Okay, Article 1 is fairly straightforward. Any questions or comments on Article 1? Ms. Piedmont Smith.
Yes, my question pertains to several of the articles, and that is something that we discussed at the executive committee meeting, whether Monroe County Code actually applies. And I noticed in the CAC report that's next on the agenda that there was some conversation about using the language pursuant to instead of per the code. Can somebody, I don't know, is Mr. Baker still here? Can somebody explain to me how the Monroe County Code applies to the CAC?
So I had a conversation with Tom and the gentleman who was charged with drafting this. My feeling is that reference to the Monroe County Code isn't particularly necessary or necessarily helpful. And you know, in the future, if the provisions of this document are revisited, I'd prefer at that point that reference to the Monroe County Code be removed. A lot of work has been done so far, so it seemed that when we were discussing it, a bit unfortunate for me to express my view very strongly about that. I don't think it necessarily hurts anything, the reference to the Monroe County Code, but my personal view would be at some point in time down the road, it probably ought to be removed. I don't know if that answers your question or helps today.
That is helpful, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think given that amendments are to involve the board having 1 month's time to look over them, certainly the adoption of the bylaws should permit 1 month's time to adopt them. And I want to ask if there would be any problem in doing the adoption at our January meeting. Which would allow the changes needed to remove the references to the code. Mr. McGlasson?
And I hate to put Mr. Baker on the spot again, because he said, you know, he and Joe and I have reviewed this and had a discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not recall us ever discussing the board having to adopt these, that the CAC would adopt them, but the board was asked to provide review and comment so that the CAC was assured that the board was in agreement with what they were adopting.
Got it. So our charge is just to review and comment. Ms. Piedmont Smith?
So I guess I'd like to hear from Mr. Winia why the reference to county code is still in here. I mean, it's fine, but I just want to know the reasoning at this point.
Sure, yes. The interest was just to let it be known where it was taken from, so that if the county code is changed or if the CAC wishes to change the content of a provision that was taken from the county code, it would be known where it originated, rather than being under the presumption that it was purely CAC drafted language.
Mm.
And that was the exclusive intent. So again, from the CAC chair perspective, I don't think there would be any harm with the board providing the feedback to indeed have it removed completely and then having the CAC vote on it at its regular meeting next week, Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think given what Mr. Baker has just shared with us, it would be better just to remove reference to the Monroe County Code and, I mean, still keep the content, but just remove the reference to the code. Because then it would stand alone and it wouldn't, you know, which legally it should.
And I'm happy to help with that too. You know, so feel free to reach back to me and I'll pitch in and do as much lifting as you like on that.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Very good. So I think for reference by the CAC, you could certainly keep a copy of the bylaws referencing county code, and just have that be a separate document that references that for drafting purposes. Are there comments from board members?
Are we still on Article 1?
We were. Seeing none, let's look at 2. Questions or comments? Moving on to art.
I have
Ms.
one question.
Githens?
What happens to the committee if there are less than 7 community members who are willing to serve?
Again, Mr. Baker, please weigh in. I mean, the statute does not provide any guidance as to minimum or maximum number of members. The resolution that was passed by the Solid Waste District in 1990 that established the CAC set those parameters.
Concur.
So what to do if there are only 6 members of the CAC?
I would hope that we would never get to that point, but if we did, I imagine that would involve us bringing something back to the board to amend the resolution.
I would think so. Okay.
I just wanted to call attention to the wording in Article 2, number 1A. The committee must include the following: representatives of the solid waste management industry. So now we have 1 singular. Maybe we still comply with that. I'm not sure, but we're getting close to not complying with that.
Well, and I can say, you know, throughout the history of the CAC, there have been a number of years where there were not representatives of the solid waste industry on the committee. And I think that's a function, you know, we can't mandate that anybody participate. And you know, and I know that there is at least one waste management company operating in the county who only wanted to appoint a member that did not reside in Monroe County. And I said, that's not going to work. So they said, we won't have anybody.
Would there be any benefit in changing that word must to should?
Ms. Drouini, but I believe that's directly taken from the statute. That's the language in the statute.
Right.
Correct. And one of the benefits of referencing.
Right. Well, we'll just hope for the best then.
Okay. If nothing else on Article 2, let's go to Article 3. So I'll lead off comments on Article 3. Item 4, expectations. This is on page 60. And these are new. They do not reference anything with respect to board resolutions or Indiana code. And the expectations primarily are for attendance and participation. And this is laid out to help the CAC members convene their meetings with a quorum and be able to carry out their business. Any questions on Article 3? Okay, moving on to Article 4, officers, beginning page 61.
I have just a couple of small items in this article. The 1B, that heading could just be more clear. It says additional definitions. Maybe it could say something like details about officer roles or something a little bit more specific.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing is to try to use gender neutral pronouns. So in section B1, chair, it says the chairperson shall prepare the agenda for all meetings and preside over all meetings except when she/he designates the vice chair. I would change that to they, just to be more inclusive with the language. They designate the vice chair.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Oh, actually.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I do have kind of a substantive question. So under elections, number 2, A, I was wondering how this timing of elections for officers of the CAC meshes with the board's timeline of reappointing CAC members. So it says if the chair will no longer be a member at the initial meeting of the next year, the next highest ranking officer will serve as interim chair. So at what point will they know whether that, whether they're going to be continued, and will that give them enough time to have a CAC meeting to appoint an interim chair if the chair is not continuing.
I can weigh in on that and just given the current meeting schedule of both bodies, the CAC meets the Thursday after the board meets every month. At this time, the board has made an effort to make those reappointments at their December meeting so that they are effective January 1 when they need to take effect. If for some reason that doesn't happen, and has happened a couple times in years past, those appointments have been made at the January meeting, so the CAC membership would know in advance of their meeting the reappointments for the coming year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions on this article? Okay, Article 5 meetings. We were focused on Monroe County Code, but there may be other parts of this article that people would want to comment on. Any questions or comments? Let's move on then to Article 6 amendment, which we've already had some discussion on. Does anybody have questions or comments about amending the bylaws and board review? Okay. I think that concludes the board's review, and thank you for pointing out helpful comments to the CAC. Our next agenda item is to have a report from the CAC, and we'll hear if they've done anything else other than write bylaws.
Indeed, a little bit. I will, let's see. I will note that there has been a lot of activity, but it comes down to essentially about 4 things, the lion's share of which is the bylaws, which we just reviewed now in another meeting. The first 3 points consist of the CAC meeting, the executive committee meeting, and a legal counsel meeting about the bylaws. There was also a reappointment, which we've also already covered during this meeting. And then the third item is the IRC virtual conference for 2021, which is the Indiana Recycling Coalition, and for which the district provided funds for 4 CAC members to virtually attend by reviewing videos. The hope was to convene to discuss the content, but we have not been able to do so far. So I figured I would at least provide the opportunity to provide my feedback if the board is interested following this report. And then the last important item of CAC activity has been engagement with the district's website redesign, which has been a great opportunity to help provide feedback and try to facilitate in accomplishing the district's website completion by the deadline of the end of this calendar year. And I am personally very excited about the opportunity and think it is looking very good and look forward to presenting the end results.
Very good. Are there questions or comments for Mr. Winia? Ms. Piedmont-Smith?
First of all, thank you very much for all your work on the bylaws. I wanted to ask about the website. So and maybe this is a question for Mr. McGlasson, but have we engaged a company to overhaul the website? Where are we with that?
Yeah, we're actually well underway in that process. And you know, to follow up a little bit on, you know, what Mr. Winnie said, and with his knowledge and his experience along the lines of website development and stuff, he's been an integral part of that, and things are moving along a lot faster, and we will probably have a much better product than if it was left solely to me. So very, very indebted and thankful for his experience and his willingness to put some time into this. And Lambert Consulting is the company that we're working with. And you may recall we had to give them a down payment a few months ago to get started on this process. So they are, I mean, I don't, Mr. Winnie may have a better idea than I do of you know, where we are in our timeline, but you know, the hope was by the end of this year, beginning of next year, to be rolling out the new website. Is that, and I don't know if, he's had a lot more close dealings and more regular interaction with them than I have, as I've kind of, again, let his knowledge and experience take the reins here and keep moving it forward. So, and so, you know, Mr. Winnie, if you have any updates on our timelines or when we expect things to be put out live, please chime in.
Yeah, I can add that I think on the district's behalf, probably about 90% of the necessary information in terms of content has been provided and feedback on design. I think now the ball is majoritarily in the Lambert Consulting Court in just needing to take the time to implement the changes. And they have what I would guess is probably 70% of total completion, meaning that all the main pages, or the majority of the main pages exist. They have content on them, and they need to, I guess, refine at this point and then incorporate the last round of information that the district has to provide. So I think that provided that they have the capacity, there is enough time between now and the end of the year to have all of those changes completed, just based on pure amount of work required. But I don't know what their other obligations are. However, that said, they did seem like they had the intention of also completing that timeline and feeling comfortable with the amount of time remaining.
Okay.
Great.
So,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are they optimizing it for accessibility and for use with smartphones as well?
Yes, mobile, they even reported that I think it was about 45%. It was around 50% plus or minus 5% that were mobile users. So they did take that into account in some of the exchanges that we had. And then for the accessibility, they said that, or the design inherently incorporates clearer font types and higher contrast. I don't think that there was a clear date on incorporating the full range of accessibility that was requested. I remember it being mentioned in an exchange. Tom, if you happen to remember that detail off the top of your head, that would be helpful, but I don't remember where they stood on incorporating the full request of the board's range.
Yeah, they were looking, and I'm waiting to get some cost information from them. You know, we were looking at you know, the ability for you know, a spoken text option, as well as at least a Spanish version, if not some additional language versions as well. But again, some of that's
really good.
Some of that's going to come down to cost and what the district can afford to do. As soon as they get those numbers to me, we'll crunch them and we'll do as much of it as we think we can afford to do.
Yeah, could you get back to the executive committee about that accessibility question, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Well, I have several, and I'll try to be very quick. Funding for the website changes can come from 2021 budget? And can they be encumbered into 2022 if we haven't finished this up? Is that the plan?
Provided that if Lambert Consulting can provide me quotes or invoices dated prior to the end of the year, then we can encumber that money.
Okay. And do we have funds in the 2022 budget, which I'm afraid I don't have committed to memory, to cover website work?
Well, other than what we would normally budget for routine maintenance and hosting services and stuff, specifically, no. But we do have a number of items in the budget where money was placed in the anticipation of needs that were going to arise because of the plan update and some of the new ventures and directions that we may go. And some of those funds could be utilized to cover unexpected or additional costs related to the website.
So very good on that. How about the ability of district personnel to update calendars, minutes, put up agendas, etc.? Is this all worked out so this can easily be done?
Yes, we're going to, in essence, we're going to create a public section on our Dropbox account that we've all been using for a variety of different reasons. And the website will have links on that where we'll basically have a public document archive housed in Dropbox that will link directly from the website.
Okay. And staff can do this. You won't need to have a consultant do this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, staff plans to, whether that's how we currently do it, and staff does plan to continue to do those types of website updates.
Very good. Well, I just want to add my 2 cents on the Spanish language version. If we don't have an entire version, I hope there will at least be a special page and message in Spanish. And if you need help with a translator, I have a close colleague who can do this for you.
Thank you.
So, other questions or comments? I believe we're done with that business item then. Oh, I have one more question. What has happened to Go Green District? Is that still going to be the brand, so to speak, or is there another brand?
At this time, that is going to continue to be the brand. That is something that was discussed and included as a part of that 5-year plan. But that is not a topic, an issue that we have begun to address yet, but do plan to do so starting early next year. And just, depending on where that goes will dictate how long it takes to get it done.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Piedmont-Smith?
Yes, did Mr. Winia offer to give his feedback on the Indiana Recycling Commission conference?
We left that without. He did indeed offer, and can we set this up for a January meeting to include in the packet?
If that's the board's desire, yes. I mean, assuming that Mr. Winia can accommodate that timeline.
Yes, if that question is directed toward me, I can accommodate either. And I can also be brief if you wanted to attempt it now, or include more content if you wanted to schedule it for later.
So what's your pleasure, board members? Now or later?
I think later. That way you can talk to the other members and get a full report.
I think that's good to involve the other members too. So thanks for that, Mr. Swafford. And well, then let's see this in January. And very good to be able to hear about this conference.
Excellent, thank you.
So now let's turn to our department reports, and Mr. McGlasson will begin.
Well, we've already kind of touched a little bit on the changing of the banks. Just will let the board know that we do still have 2 open accounts at Chase. One is related to our flexible spending account, the employee benefit, and the other is the operating account where we do still have some outstanding checks, and also left some money in there, and just until we were assured that payroll and other automated functions were working right with German American, in the event that we had to go back to Chase if there was any problems. And with the first payroll, a few kinks, but nothing that delayed payment to employees, and we think that we've got those worked out. And we'll, get the Chase accounts closed out as soon as we can get all the outstanding payments processed through those. So. And also just because I know there's been some questions asked, want to let the board know that we do still intend to move forward with seeing about implementing a waste tire program. That's unfortunately at this time with the end of year, it's fallen a little bit down the priority list. And but once we get the end of year stuff done, we'll jump back into there. Have had some discussions with Mr. Baker about it. In the past month or so, and I think we have a game plan in place to move forward with that as soon as time allows. And kind of the same thing with Ms. Piedmont Smith referenced earlier, potential for recycling drop-off downtown, and kind of and in conjunction with that, looking at promoting apartment recycling, whether that be downtown or in other areas of the city or county. Where you have a number of apartment units, those things are still in the works. We do still plan to try to address those, and again, as soon as time permits, when we get into year requirements wrapped up, we'll begin looking at those earnestly and try to move things forward. And then just in the essence of time, I will just highlight that. 2 things on page 67 of the packet under the education and outreach summary. The second of the virtual green chat series was held on November the 13th. The 3rd session is scheduled for this Saturday, December the 11th, and it is set up as an event on our Facebook page. And any people that are interested should contact Elisa Pokral at 812-349-2020, her email eporkal@mcswmd.org, to get registered and have her send the link to that chat. And the last thing, don't know if people saw, but this year for America Recycles Day, we had a small 3-piece band that went around to all of our sites, and played some original music and some covers, and they changed some of the lyrics to be more appropriate to promoting recycling and waste reduction. They deserve some credit. It was not the best day to be out there finger picking a guitar. It was kind of chilly, but they did it, and it seemed to be really well received by the customers at the sites. And and the video of that day that's been posted on Facebook page has gotten a lot of attention and a lot of sharing. That really seems to have been a well-received promotion that we did for America Recycles Day. And that's all that I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Let's turn to Mr. Paulson then.
Hey there. The only thing I'd really bring to the attention is that we completed our groundwater sampling first 2 weeks of November, and all the data and all the lab samples all the samples have been sent to Element for analysis, and we're currently just waiting for those results to come back so that we can forward them on to AECom for statistical stuff. And Tom let me know that last month there was some questions about our number of open cases for compliance stuff. Since the pandemic kind of hit, our case numbers have gone up, but since the pandemic has hit, they're kind of hanging out between the 40 and 50 mark a little bit. I don't really have an answer as to why. It just seems to be more people are at home, choosing to dispose of their trash the way that they are, and creating opportunities for us to go educate these people on better ways to dispose of their waste than tossing it in their backyards or their driveway or wherever they're choosing to do it. We do have several cases that have been around for quite a while. And I know Mary Beth is working with Mr. Baker in regards to trying to look at some legal things to do with some of these cases that have been out there for a while. We've got 3 that there's been some crazy legal stuff involved, where there's meth lab in the house, there's been shootings, there's been other kind of things like that. So we're taking everything with a lot of caution when we go to some of these houses, especially that are further out in the county. Some of them have been in the paper and the news media, stuff like that, about some of the things that have happened with that. Unfortunately, we've been involved with those as well. So we've had neighbors calling us, asking us to try to go out there when the police were out there for an active shooting, and we're like, nope, we're not going out there. But Mary Beth is doing a great job of her letter writing and documentation of stuff like that, so that whatever ends up happening legally, or at least through the court system or that kind of stuff, she's got some very definitive timelines and opportunities that she has explained, re-explained, explained some more, provided documentation many times over, and she's kept a very good record of these things to put it on people's lack of follow through, pretty much. So a lot of different reasons why they're not following through, but that could take us hours as to discuss all those things. So, but we're working on it. We're kind of have a higher caseload right now, which creates a lot more for Mary Beth to do, and myself, as we both try to shoulder as much of that as we can to get out and visit sites and put them on a routine schedule, so that the people that we're trying to work with know, hey, we're going to be back in 3 or 4 weeks. Let's try to at least make progress. And it just seems to be more of an uphill battle. So, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Questions for Mr. Paulson? I have one question, and that is, how much of this concerns legal issues for the county that violates county code?
Can you say that again?
I said, how many cases are you dealing with that would violate county code?
Every case we create is a violation of county code. We currently have 57 open cases right now. We try to do, and again, I compliment Mary Beth with her patience for many of the people that she's dealing with. She tries to give them an opportunity to correct the problem before we look at any kind of legal stuff through the court system or fines. She's pretty lenient with that, but pretty consistent. So as long as people are making an effort, because again, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's financial situation is different. There is a lot of different things with each case, and they're individual. So she's done a great job with working with the families to try to help educate them to, some of them it's just start with one section of the yard, and next time I come back, let's just get to the next section. Some of them are not that easy. Some of them there's some mental health issues, there's drug addiction issues, there's financial issues, there's a whole plethora of things that are well beyond our control or what our scope is. She's not a social worker. She's not, that's not her role. Her role is, here's what the county codes are. And, you know, she still wants to give these people the opportunity. But when they get to a certain point, then we're finding people more often than we've ever fined people in the past. And yet we still haven't found a way to motivate people to take those next steps. So she's been working more with Mr. Baker, Mr. Lee Baker, and using the court system as a tool to try to help clean these things up. And again, they're all in different points. They're all in different timelines, and it just, Mary Beth is doing a great job of keeping track of all that stuff and keeping routines up. So, but we have quite a bit right now.
Yeah. I thank you very much for this report. It's something that the board needed to hear. And there certainly is a safety concern. I think that all of us would share.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot more weird cases that, you know, we go in tandem to places where she doesn't feel comfortable, and there's places that we're like, absolutely not, without some other agency present, just because there's been, you know, there's some hardcore stuff going on that is well beyond our scope of solid waste stuff, and safety is our number one concern, and people's trash in the yard isn't worth getting hurt over, as far as I'm concerned. So, but I mean, it's different, and it's very time consuming. So, I mean, it's, you know, these places aren't 2 minutes away. They're, you know, some of these cases it's a 25-minute drive just to get to the house to talk for 15, 20 minutes, and it's a 25-minute back. And then you've got documentation to put in the computer system, and then you've got letters to write. You've got all the other people to contact. I mean, there's quite a bit of work. There's quite a bit of legwork with these things, and it's taken up a lot more time. So it's I'm trying to support her as best I can, and making sure that she's got the time she needs to do that stuff. And, you know, it's positive, but it's a whole lot right now. Well,
it's good for us to hear from you so we can appreciate her work and yours. And also, you may not hear enough from the neighbors, but I can just bet you that the neighbors are also appreciative of any progress made on cleaning things up.
We hope so.
They may not be telling you, but I'm sure they are. So, okay. Well, that concludes our reports. Mr. McGlasson, sorry.
If I could interject real fast, and first off, I'll just follow up on what Mr. Paulson, and that having worked in that department previously, yes, Mary Beth and Lee both are doing great work, and I know how hard it is to keep that landfill in order and try to stay on top of those compliance cases, and they're both doing a great job of that. And it also did want to back up real fast. So we kind of skipped over beginning on page 68 there in the packet. There is still a recycling and household hazardous waste report. Our assistant operations director, Joey Long, has really stepped up in Mr. Morgan's absence. And I also cannot accredit him enough for what he's done to step up in Mr. Morgan's absence. But at any rate, the report is in there, the recycling data is in there, and if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board members, do you have any questions on the recycling and hazardous waste report? Well, please convey to Mr. Long that we appreciate his work on this. And we just count on seeing this report. Now we have a complete report for through September, and then we'll be learning more about the October, November, and December results.
He just the October invoice, he actually just completed reconciling that today, and just this week received the November invoice. So we'll get those reconciled and get the report updated as quick as we can.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's move on then to public comment. As far as I know, we only have one public in our meeting, attending our meeting. Mr. Winia, would you like to speak with us again?
I would. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to take this opportunity to extend one more tremendous amount of gratitude to the board for their feedback on the bylaws, particularly to the executive committee for their time and effort spent reviewing it as well, and especially to Mr. McGlasson and Mr. Baker for their additional time and eye on all the content. And I'm very excited to finally be crossing this threshold and to have this stage completed, and very grateful. So thank you all for all of your participation in the process.
Yeah. I think I can speak for the board to say thank you and thank the CAC for taking these important steps. We appreciate your work. So now let's have comments from directors. We have a few left. Ms. Piedmont Smith, Ms. Jones, and me, that's it. Okay, I will make a comment then for the board to thank CATS for showing up at every meeting this year and making our meetings available to the public, and to thank our staff for a very productive year. There have been many changes, and we welcome Kathy Martin as a very important change to our operations, and we're so glad to have her. We don't have Scott Morgan with us for much work, but hopefully in the future he will return to good health and be back with us. And you've already heard about other staff members who have stepped up and have helped carry the work forward. So I just want to thank each of the board members for their time and interest. And I think everybody should have a wonderful December and New Year, and have fun with your family and friends. And we'll come back in January and do this all over again. With that, we can conclude this meeting and adjourn.